There we go. All right. We are, as of at least 6 seconds ago, we are live.
Excellent.
Okay.
Cheers.
All right, guys. Well,
It's good to be here.
Okay,
Thanks
go.
for having us back.
Yeah.
All right, you have to re-announce us then.
All right, let's do that again, just in case. Hey, everybody, welcome again. We are doing this lyrics jam, our second week. So I'm joined by my friends here, Steve Hindalong. He's the drummer and lyricist for the choir. Chris Taylor from Love Coma, and Michael Rowe, who we talked into coming and doing this with us. Mike Rowe from the 77s. All right, awesome.
Mike,
And so, guys,
Mike. What? I haven't seen
Hi,
Mike.
Mom.
Hey. It was great to hang out with Chris last week, but Mike, I haven't seen you in like how long? I mean,
Wow,
you were
I don't know, since last March when we did the tour, a year.
a year, and then it's all gone awry because you know, your
It's
tour
terrible.
got canceled and our tour got canceled that you're coming with us on. And
I was devastated by that.
oh,
I see Derry every Christmas because I visit my mother-in-law there in Murfreesboro, and we meet, you know, him and John, his friend John, at some Irish pub. What's the name of that? Quinn's?
I don't know, John Hartley. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, John Hartley, yeah. But other than that, no, I probably haven't seen you for a year.
Right. I mean, you were here in town, and we couldn't even hang out.
No.
Although you posted that picture of us hanging out like years before, and everybody
Oh,
was
I
like,
know, that caused a big problem, didn't it?
I'm like having to keep on going, no, that was like years ago.
Yeah, I know, and everyone thinks we're like disobeying the social distance.
Yeah, you're such an idiot.
No, I did it on purpose.
You did. Of course you did.
All right, well, let's not waste time. Let's talk about music.
let's do that. Why don't we do that? Who wants to go first? And so the way this works, if you've never seen it before, we just kind of, I ask these guys to bring some lyrics that really mean a lot to them or that have meant a lot to their fans. And we're just going to take turns reading some of these lyrics out loud and just talking about it. And that's it. That's it. That's the whole show.
Well, I want to start off by saying I started off the morning. When I say morning, I mean 2 p.m. when I got up, you know, because everything's all spun around. My world is completely upside down. I don't know about yours. But first thing I did is I got Chris's record on Bandcamp, brand new one. And I just had to ask the title, Lovers, Thieves, Fools, and Pretenders. And man, Chris, it is so deep and good. I mean, it's really moving. I was so impressed with it.
Thank you.
Seriously, man, I loved everything about it. So, I don't know. Yeah. And I don't know what lyrics you're going to read, but it just seems so appropriate that the song April Moon is such a great lyric. And here we heard it in April, and we had that incredible moon last night.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you're going to read, but that'd be a good one. I'm throwing that out.
I'll read that one. When it's my turn, I'll go for it.
Well, who's to say it's not your turn?
He just set you up. He set you up.
All right, I will do that. So it's Kat's birthday today.
Yes.
And last night we went out and we looked at the April moon, and it was just it was that huge yellow in our town in San Antonio. It was just surrounded by clouds, very ominous looking. And yeah, so that song came to my mind last night. So it's super appropriate that you bring it up this morning,
Yes.
today. So, okay, April Moon. In my mind, this song is sort of, it kicks off my new record, and it's from the perspective, it's almost like, it's a little bit like C.S. Lewis's Screw Tape Letters, where it's the perspective of the enemy whispering in your ear. And so the lyric goes something like this. She tied me down, barbed wire and rope. She put a little leather around my throat. April moon and red, red rose. She hid scissors underneath her clothes. The forgiven never really stay forgiven. They just have to keep on reliving someone else's song of the day. Their sins are always on display. Do you need me like I need you? I toss and turn all night because that's what I do. Do the little devils in your heart rejoice? Does the anger in your heart rejoice? Well, love shines in the dark, rejoice. And love blinds in the dark, rejoice. April moon and a red, red rose.
Jeez.
Wow.
What can you say
Yeah.
after that? Well, thanks everybody. It's been a great show.
Thank you. Yeah. So it's, you know, the album is sort of like, it's an 8-year journey. And this is sort of what started off, was this sort of, this self-sabotage moment, and where you listen to that little enemy whisper in your ear and you decide to follow that road. And that's kind of where it led me. And so that's sort of where, yeah, that was the inspiration for that song, but it was never written. I had set up a piece of music for it, and I had this little classical guitar riff, this mantra riff that just kind of goes throughout the whole song. And I would sing into a bullet harmonica mic, and I was just ad-libbing these lyrics. And after about 3 or 4 attempts, this is sort of what came out. And so it's, I don't know, it's one of those weird things that I can't really take credit or blame for, other than I just decided that's what I was going to put on the record. So, yeah.
I love that kind of stuff. That reminds me of like that Elvis Presley in America thing, you know, that you two
right.
did. I don't know if that was improvised, but it sure sounded like it. And I can only say I wish they would have returned to that form of composition, because what you're describing is a very sort of stream of consciousness type thing, where you're just, rather than writing it down maybe on a tablet like we all kind of do, or talking into a recorder, you're actually doing it live on the mic in your recording environment.
Right. Yeah. It's an interesting process, because you have to figure out a way to get out of your own head. Because at first it all just feels ridiculous to you, you know, to me, to be able to do that. And you're coming up with a bunch of gibberish, and then all of a sudden words and things start to form, and you're trying not to get in the way with it, or you know. And then after you allow yourself to do that, it's sort of like almost like a form of meditation, you know. And then the idea is, allow yourself that time to record all those things. And then later on, you let the editor come in the room. You put on the editor hat, and then you kind of go, all right, what do we have here? What is this trying to tell me? How can I make sense of this? So yeah, that was something else. And then, you know, Misty Jones produced this record, and she just instinctively knew where to take this. You know, I gave her the sort of the raw materials, and she just knew how to make it bloom. So
Who is
I have
that?
to give her props. She's a longtime friend of mine. That she used to live here in San Antonio, and she just kept on. She's a musician, and she's also a producer, and she works a lot with like Ableton Live. I think she just became a certified Ableton Live instructor. I think she's one of the top instructors in America now. But throughout all this time, I basically did this record on my own, and then I put the brakes on it. And Misty and I connected, and I sent her all the stems, and I said, play, just play. Don't tell me what you're going to do. I'm not going to micromanage what you do. And I knew her and I kind of were cut from the same cloth. So that's why I trusted her with all this stuff. So I sent her all the raw tracks, and I said, add to it, take away from it. I trust you. And so every few weeks she would send me a mix, and it was like Christmas morning. You know, you run downstairs, you grab the headphones, you drive around in the car, and this was the first song that we worked on, and it was something else. It was just as when it starts off, you feel like you're in a thriller, like you're in some sort of a thriller movie, and you don't know where it's going to go. And I love that.
Awesome. Yeah, that was a great one to start with.
Mhm.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Well, you're running the show, Keith.
Well, hey, I'm just a fly on the wall on this one. Who wants to go next?
What do you got, Steve?
I knew that. All right. Well, since we're in the cosmic kind of thing with the moon, I'll stay with that theme. Here's a tune that Derry had done an ambient record called Clouds Echoing Blue quite a few years back. And when I listened to it, it's only natural for me to hear words and melody. I'm so used to that with him. Everything he does, I naturally sounds like a song to me. So one of those tunes, I took it and put words and melody to it, and it ended up on one of our albums. And Lee Nash sang a duet on it, and I've always liked it a lot. It's called After All. Are we mere specks of dust floating through the Milky Way? Are we here to learn to love? I think that's true either way. Come winter, come spring, come summer, come fall. You're floating with me after all. I'm floating with you after all. We are on a cosmic ride. Let's hope to greet the dawn. For sure, this glorious night will be long gone forever soon. The owl is on the spy, the cat is on the prowl. I say we step outside and howl at the moon. We're on a cosmic ride, so good to be together. Have a joyous flight, should by death our spirits part. The lynx is keen of sight, the bat is on the wing. I say we step outside and sing to the stars. Are we mere specks of dust floating through the Milky Way? Are we here to learn to love? I think that's true either way. Come winter, come spring, come summer, come fall. You're floating with me after all. I'm floating with you after all.
I love that. I love that. I think that's true either way.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Yeah, because whether or not you feel like a speck of dust or that we're here to love, that's a great sort of resolution. I love that you can put just a sort of an overwhelming glimpse of hope in the midst of all of that, to where some of my songs, I don't know if there's hope in there. I just sort of lay it out, you know, but I love that lyric especially because it's like, it's true either way. You're right. It's worth it either way. I love it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, Chris, you kind of mentioned that last week about how sometimes you're not sure you should put hope or some redemption right in the lyric. Is there a reason you hold back on that? Do you feel like, or are you just waiting for that to feel right?
The only reason I could think right off the top of my head that I would even hold back, I'm not consciously thinking about it these days. But when you're writing for, like, it depends on where you're at in your music career or lack of it. You know, if you're on a record label that encourages you to write things that are going to be encouraging and faith-filled and that kind of thing, that's one thing. But
yeah,
I'm just me writing for myself and putting it out into the world, and I'm just sort of telling my story, at least up until this point. That's sort of where I'm at now. So I don't feel like I have anybody to answer to, or I don't have to go through a team of people to decide on what the lyrics are or not. So then it just becomes like, how do I want to tell the story? And I'm still a believer in the album as a whole, even though I know the rest of the world is not necessarily, with a few exceptions, the rest of the world it's, you know, click and listen to the first few seconds of a song to decide whether you like it or not. But there's something about writing an album as if you were like writing a book or making a movie or creating something that people are going to sit and spend time with. And so that's sort of, at least for this last record, that's what it's all about. You know, moving on, I kind of don't even want to write about myself anymore. I'm kind of like, I'm so sick of myself. I'm so sick of going inward. I want to come up with something completely different that has nothing to do with me, and then infuse myself into that. I'm not sure what that is yet, but
yeah,
that's what I'm thinking about.
you know, there's a purity, I think, that comes across in a lyric or a song when you're not writing for a market. You're not writing to please somebody else, right? But I mean, even to be honest, I mean, those are some of the lyrics and the songs I think I appreciate the most, because they are brave, because they're not afraid. Even if they're aware that there is a market, the artist doesn't seem to care, you know.
Well, we're sitting here with two of my favorite songwriters on the planet. And that's, I'm not just saying that because they're both here, but you know, I grew up listening to their tunes and looking back on it, and maybe you guys both have a completely different perspective on this from where you're at, but looking back on it, they were in a marketplace, but it seemed like they did things their own way, and they were
Yes.
trailblazers with lyrics, trailblazers with music in a field of artists that were kind of, for whatever reason, seemed like they were going the safe route. And you both with the 77s and with the choir and all the bands that you guys, you know, created around them, to me, it's like, it's a treasure trove. It's like somebody walking on the beach and opening a treasure chest and finding these miraculous gifts and treasures. And whether it be Mike's lyrics or Steve's lyrics, to me, I'm like, as a fan, I'm going, they hold up today as they did when they first came out. And it means something so much because it's, you know, and I don't want to take up all this time talking about this, but it's like, there's some sort of deeper meaning to those songs that has nothing to do with the commercial marketplace. So somehow they were able to continue to write really amazing, personal, touching, emotional songs that had nothing to do with the marketplace at the time.
Yeah. I'd
I
say,
think that's one advantage to not being as successful as we would have maybe liked, is that we had more freedom artistically.
True.
And the only time I got in trouble is if I, you know, said something that was considered double entendre or something like that. For the most part, I think both of our bands were accepted fairly well. And I don't know how much pushback you guys got, but
At first we did. At first we got.
at first, yeah.
Yeah. I got to go back and say a little history here. We were such fans of the 77s. They were up in Sacramento and we were down in Southern California. And our whole circle of bands was more, you know, it was very ministry oriented. You know, what are you doing? Is it evangelism or edifying the body or what? It's like, we're just writing songs about how we feel, you know. That's right from the start. We were pretty much like, no, we don't fit this. But we saw the Sevens up there. And in Sacramento, we'd go up there and we just really just loved you guys. We resonated with it, and we were just, there are here. You guys, I think we're just a few years ahead of us, probably 5 years ahead of us, maybe. And that's why we got Charlie Peacock to come produce our record, because he had produced All Fall Down by the 77s. And we thought All Fall Down was just the greatest record ever. And Charlie had produced it, and that was our whole, brought him down from Sacramento. And anyway, that's a little bit of our history there.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's funny. We've talked about that on the road so many times, about how you guys made that choice based on that record, when in point of fact, you know, Charlie was only heavy-handed where I asked him to be. For the most part, he let us have our own head. So in a sense, he was just there kind of as a overseer to make sure we didn't do anything wrong. And
So
then,
you're saying we should have had you come down and produce our record?
well, maybe, I don't know, that would have been great, but
That would have been-
I was grateful to him when we asked him, when I didn't know what to do with a song, like on Ba 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 Ba, you know, I knew that was a hit. I thought, this is the most catchy commercial thing. And I didn't even write that music. It's like a couple friends of mine from San Jose that I used to write with had that tune. It was a tune that was written to be like a Supertramp tune, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we believe, right?
Yeah.
And it had different lyrics and everything. And so I decided to turn it into sort of a poking fun a little bit at Mormonism, you know, some of the key tenets of that faith. And but I wanted it to be broader than just that. I didn't want it to be a mockumentary of Mormonism. I wanted it to be something that was about opening up, you know, following blindly leaders and things like that. And so I just handed it to Charlie. I said, just go do your Peacock thing. Just do your drum machine, you know, make it all 80s and poppy and everything. And he just went nuts with it and did that production, right? Which was really appropriate, even though it's a bit dated now. It was very appropriate for the time. But that's really what Charlie did. That one and Someone New that we'd already recorded. He did those Peacock productions. The rest of it, he just let us kind of produce ourselves and just sort of helped, you know.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from working with Charlie Peacock. I really did. It was great. We had a lot of fun. So.
Yeah. Are you going to read a lyric, Mike? Read it.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
This one's a little long. I probably shouldn't choose this, but do you guys remember the song The Itch Is Back?
No.
I had a song called The Itch Is Back,
No.
which, you know, obviously is a
Play on.
takeoff on the Elton John song. I had, you know, back when I wrote this, I don't know, what, 17, 18 years ago, and I still have this problem today. I have this sort of dermatitis thing on my arms. You guys, anyone who knows me well has seen
Oh,
me
he's in the
crack.
van. He's in the van with a gold bond.
Yeah, I've got a gold bond, and, you know, I've got like, you know,
You've seen, we've all seen it.
it's a problem, you know, but what's funny, don't make fun, because, you know, as you get older, I have friends who have gotten that, and they laughed at me and, you know, and thought it was really funny, and then they started getting it. So I hadn't written a lot of songs in a long time, and when I wrote this, and I was thinking about folk singers like Eric Anderson, guys like that, you know, that brings up John Prine, which John Prine comes from that same school of songwriting. And Eric Anderson in 1972 had this song called Is It Really Love at All, which I thought was just a great song. And I wanted to write a song that sounded like that.
Yes.
What's that? What do you have right there?
Got this John Prine book.
Oh, nice.
You know,
Wow.
mostly just 3 chords most of the time, but
Yeah.
But, you know, I wanted to write something in the style and feeling of those kinds of songwriters, those folk singers, you know. So I said, it's been a long, long time. I know I've been hiding out with my old radio, because I was thinking about a song from 1972. And I said, I'm trying to learn how to sound like a sad folk singer. I'm a long way from my days of live wires and way too long gone drop dead ringers. It's kind of silly, but and then it goes, I found a Liberty Bell hiding out in my attic, which I guess means I got some freedom here to write whatever I want, you know. Gonna take it out and have a good hard whack at it. Maybe the sound will set me free. They say I'm more square than around these days. I don't know where to start these days. I don't feel too smart these days. That's why I went away. And I think I was feeling a bit inadequate, because when you put yourself up against guys like Prine or Leonard Cohen or any of the songwriters we've admired in our youth that are real songwriters, I personally get very uptight, because, you know, I can sit and write a bunch of stuff that I think is cool, and then I'll go listen to a Jimmy Webb tune, you know, and I'll go, no, this just, you know, this would never, ever get close to that. But I thought, well, I got to start somewhere. I got to be who I am. I got to say my own thoughts and not worry about all those guys. Just try to get something out. You know, I got an itch to write again, you know. So it's funny how that thing on my arm, you know, led to a metaphor about wanting to write, come out of my shell.
yeah.
There's the itch, but the itch is back to scratch that part of my heart and begin on the long, long road back. Still got a long way to go, but I'm moving slow. And it says, I've been crawling out of a cold, hard funk, reading too many lies and eating too much junk. I'm up too early and I'm down too late. No time to live, love, laugh. And I hate that I was brought up right, but I took myself down low, landed hard in the gutter when I fell off the high road. I'm crawling. Now I'm crawling around, wondering how I'm going to get up now. But the itch is back to scratch that part of my heart and begin on the long, long road back. Still got a long way to go. And then it says, let's see. I know that I can't go back no more. Don't want nothing I wasn't created for. I want nothing to hide. I need someone inside, not along for the ride, but the long road abiding. Because the itch is back,
I gotta hear that.
etc.
I gotta
It's a lot of words. It was really wordy, you know, and I had to cram to get them all in. But I was always really fond of this because it was real to me. It was talking about a feeling that I really had about needing to get back out there and you know, stir up that gift and you know, it reflects on a lot of insecurities and things that I've had over the years. And the music sounds a lot like that Eric Anderson record. So in that case, I felt satisfied as an artist because I was able to be inspired by some guy from the past that I thought was a great writer, and have it bring something out of me that I wouldn't normally have done. So that's that. That song doesn't get a lot of attention, but I think a lot of times we, as writers or musicians, tend to like things that maybe the fans don't always pick up on. We may be in for things that are a little bit more obscure, or there's something about it that we personally get a lot out of that they may not notice. And a lot of them do, but sometimes it's the things that are in hidden corners that are more interesting to me than maybe the things that end up being hits or whatever, you know, popular songs. And stuff.
So can I ask you, what record is that song on?
That's on Say Your Prayers. It's the first song.
Awesome. Yeah,
The opening track.
that does happen. I know it from writing. I blog a lot, and it almost always happens. I'll write a blog and I'll post it, and in my mind I'm thinking, this is it, man. This, I cannot wait for people to read this. It's just gonna blow up. And I get like 2 comments. And then I'll literally write something on the fly because I'm like, oh man, I got to get something in real quick, and I'll just throw it together, and that's the one explodes, and you can never guess. But the ones that, so the ones that you think are going to blow up usually don't, and then the one you think is the best thing you've ever done sometimes is like, eh.
I think that's probably true of just about any artist.
Yeah.
But it's always great when you love something and everyone loves it too, you know.
Yes,
We've all had that. So,
that's the best.
I mean, I never thought this was going to be a big deal, or that, you know, I didn't feel that way about this song. I just did it. I didn't care whether people thought it was great or anything. It just means a lot to me personally because it was me stepping out of the shell and trying to open myself up again, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the refrain of the itch is back. That's really great.
Well, it's always good when you can steal a song from Elton John and have it become something completely different.
Right.
You know, I didn't want people thinking about the bitches back, but only a little bit, you know, because I didn't want it to be too clever or silly. I wanted that to be just kind of there as a reference, but
Yeah.
You're not Weird Al.
no.
Oh, awesome. All right, Steve. Oh no, Chris. Chris, you're up.
All right. I'll stick with the new record, and here's a song called "Everything Begins Here." This is another one of those kind of I wouldn't call it a stream of conscious song, but it's just a very fast-moving train here. So this is called "Everything Begins Here." My screws are loose, I got broken parts, I'm black and blue inside of my heart. Everything begins here. My fuse is short, my inside's out. I don't even know what I'm talking about, but everything begins here. It could be 30 seconds or 30 years. I spent my whole life just shifting gears. Everything begins here. My exile on Main Street, self-imposed. I'm walking around in strangers' clothes. Everything begins here. And of course, that's a little reference to the Rolling Stones. And then there was a Love Coma song that we wrote back in like '93 called Stranger's Clothes that was like a live concert favorite that never actually got recorded. So that was just my own way of kind of a tip of my hat to the band at that time. But the chorus says, it's a confession of the soul. I wash my sins with rock and roll, a confession of the soul. I stare into the light shining out, running through the same old shadows of doubt. Everything begins here. It's not that I had the courage to leave. I just knew I wanted to believe that everything begins here. Some take the blame while others accuse. Some decide while others can't choose. Everything begins here. I'm trying to get to the truth these days, but I'm getting caught up in the purple haze. Everything begins here. If eternity is in your heart and song, then eternity won't feel very long. Everything begins here. Light the way for me to find that all along I've been so blind. Everything begins here. The answer in your lonely eyes. tells you that you're in disguise. Everything begins here. There's nothing new under the sun, but what about the moon, my love? Everything begins here. And I just realized I didn't even realize I had the moon reference again in this song. So it's a confession of the soul. Wash my sin with rock and roll. It's a confession of the soul.
Yeah.
Wow.
He just gets better and better.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. That
Great
means a
stuff.
lot coming from you.
Yeah.
I've
really.
always loved Chris's stuff. I mean,
You got to
it's,
listen to the new record.
yeah. So that's on the new record as well.
Yeah.
It's really moving. It reminds me of, I don't know. I forgot what I was going to say.
That's.
I
Can I quote you on
I
that?
was going to say Nick Cave. Are you influenced by Nick Cave at all?
Oh, right.
You know, Nick
I mean,
Cave. Yeah, he is one of those guys that I just discovered in the last couple of years, and I just immersed myself into him. And I think that the thing that I'm most influenced by is he is one of those guys that, you know, sort of told me without telling me, you can write about anything you want. You can go anywhere.
Right.
You can come up with any scenario. Don't hold back. And I feel like that more than anything else is what I've learned from him.
Yeah. His new record is most recent. I don't know, it's not real new, but the last one that he wrote about the loss of his 15-year-old son. And
Oh yeah.
it's just heartbreaking. It's heavy, but it's just
The
gorgeous.
Skeleton Tree record, I think that's what
Right,
it was.
right. Oh my God.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Have you guys read his blog at all, or his question and answer thing that he
The
does?
red hand, the red hand.
Oh my God,
files.
he's just, what a mind, what a brilliant genius mind that guy has.
Yeah.
He's just one of a kind.
Yeah, there's something about, like, I don't know if it's this way with you guys, but like for me, like I'm in a town where, you know, I can no longer tell if I've isolated myself or I'm just not connecting with a lot of other musicians. They're off doing their thing, I'm off doing my thing. And it's not for lack of wanting to get together or hang out, but I don't really co-write with anybody, and I'm just sort of in my own little private bubble. And then I'm also kind of trapped in my own mind where it feels like, you know, you're going on your past where you're going, well, the last record I put out, I thought was something special, and it just kind of like went, you know, or it didn't, it's not that it did this, but in your mind, it didn't do this. Like no one seems to really care. They go, oh, that's neat. You put out a record, cool. And then like there's 8 million other bands putting out their stuff, and you just kind of gets lost into that. So instead of me getting sad or frustrated or angry or bitter or all those things that I would normally gravitate to, I feel myself getting that way, and then I force myself to use all of that to create something even better than I just created. That like that's just what I personally think is better. And so I feel like this record was the result of me finally going, it doesn't matter what happens the minute you put the album into the world. It just, all that matters is the experience of writing it and creating it and getting it to as close to what you hear in your head as you possibly can. And then don't even worry about what comes after that. So this to me feels like the very first record I've ever made where I'm just like, I don't even care about anything. I just want to get it right for me. And I feel like almost everything I've ever done prior to this could just fade away. If people only know me for this record, I'm fine with that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, they've almost become like magazines or periodicals now, where you just serve it up, everyone enjoys it for a minute, and then they're on to the next thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And the whole concept of doing record albums, I think, is fairly antiquated. I mean, all of us in our generations still live by that format, but I think we're very much back to a sort of a singles novelty, a go-go type world now.
Well, I reject that theory.
You reject it?
Yes.
Let me hear it.
Listen to the War on Drugs, you know, their album, Deeper Understanding.
Oh yeah.
And, you know, you go to their concerts. I saw them 3 times last year, and everyone's up there. They're going nuts, but they're mumbling the word. Nobody knows the words. I mean, they're trying. He's he sings kind of like Dylan is his total influence, you know. And you don't know but nobody in the audience knows the words. Never seen anything like it, but they all are into it, you know. So I don't know. I get what you're saying, Mike. That is the norm now. But
I'm not going to stop. I'm not saying we're going to stop making albums because that sells to our
there are
fans.
many exceptions. There are many exceptions.
But you know, I think you're better off to just keep it short and sweet because everyone's attention span has gotten
I'm
so
sure
short,
you're right.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to read one that I just think it's for. Sometimes I just write songs for fun. You know, I don't want to try to change the world all the time. You know, just like amuse myself once in a while. And this is from the Free Flying Soul album. And I was making up a lot of songs about creatures for some reason. They had to be some kind of creature. We decorated the studio with a flying frog and the coyote and all this stuff, you know. And this is about, no one would know what the song was about, but it was about me liking to be in the studio. I was producing a whole lot of bands back then. And so I was in the studio like 14 hours a day and I just loved it, you know? And so and I saw this documentary on sled dogs and how they just love what they do. And I kind of related that to myself in that way. So this song called Sled Dog.
Oh yeah.
You don't have to whip my hide. I'd love to take you for a ride. I need affection, drink, and food. You don't have to yell out rudely. Absolutely not, because I'm a sled dog. Don't tether me to a pole. Put something in my bowl. I'm a sled dog. I'm your sled dog. 10 or 12 degrees below, I'm happy trudging through the snow. I'll enter any chariot race. You can see the pride on my face. I'll get us through the fog. I'm a sled dog. I'll take you for a ride. You don't have to whip my hide. Never tether me to the pole. I'm a free flying soul. I'm a sled dog. I'm your sled dog. Yeah, I'm your sled dog. It's ridiculous.
I love it.
Yeah, I love that song. And I didn't know the story behind it, but now that I do it, I love it.
I don't think I've ever told that. I've never said that before. I don't even know if Derry knows that. That's what it's about.
When was that? When did you do it?
That would have been 1997. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
It's been a while.
I just pulled that CD out actually to listen to it. I put it on the stack to listen to it this week.
Yeah.
Get
That's it.
Oh, that's really good, man. So you said you did a bunch of songs like that. Were there?
Well, that album had Salamander and,
Oh yeah.
you know, it was Leprechaun and Butterfly and, you know, I just got into the Warbler.
Yeah.
You know, as many creatures as I could think of. I just was having fun.
So was that? But you did that after Speckled Bird.
That was before Speckled Bird.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. I mean, I've stuck with that. I mean, like you know, the owl, the bat, the wood. I just love putting as many wildlife things in songs. I've always done that. I just enjoy it.
So you did it just to entertain yourself, or was that for the challenge of it, or?
To entertain myself. You know?
Yeah, one of my favorite lyrics in "Cross That River" is the flying amphibian lyric. So yeah, I love that. You keeping that.
The flying frog.
Keeping
There
it
it is. There it is.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
There you
I
go.
even got it. Like, look, man.
My amphibian.
I
That's
got
awesome.
it hanging up in my house there. Where's it?
Oh, the painting.
The
Oh,
flying-
dude.
Wait, can you see it? The
Yeah.
flying-
Hold on. Yeah.
Wait.
Tilt it back
Perfect.
a little bit. There you
Yeah,
go.
there it
Oh
is.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now who
I
made
got
that?
it. You know, I got all these creatures. I got the sled dog, you know, right here.
Oh yeah. Look at that.
Oh, geez.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
He brought that on tour once, and we had to put that in between the captain's chair and the shotgun chair, and it was in the way. And
Remember that? You kept hitting your elbow
what a
on it.
nightmare.
We had a bungee to the driver's seat in between, and you kept hitting your elbow on it and getting mad. I love that. thing.
Ridiculous. Did we put it on the stage every night?
Yeah,
Oh,
I did it every night. I was so
oh.
happy. It brought me so much joy.
Well, I'm glad it brought you joy.
Yeah. Okay, well, Mike, I think you're up again.
All right. Well, I have this song. It's unfortunate that I'm sure myself, Derry, Steve, we've all been married, we've all been divorced. And for me personally, the worst experience as a songwriter is when you're writing about the leftover emotions or unresolved feelings about that. And you're also involved with someone else who's also stirring up negative or conflicting emotions, and you end up writing a song and you're not sure whether it's about your ex-wife or your soon-to-be ex-girlfriend.
Mm.
And I've had
Oh, no.
several of these happen.
Songs are amalgamies. They are amalgamies, yes.
Yeah. This one in particular was about my ex-wife without being mixed up with an ex-girlfriend, which is really good. But it's one of the saddest songs I've ever written. It's called 20 Years Gone. And I wanted to use that thing, how news reporters have who, when, where, how, what, why, or whatever. It's the 5 W's, right?
Yep.
It was like who, when, why, what, and where. I remember in journalism class, they would put those 5 W's and they'd say every great news story has to answer those questions about the topic you're covering. So I thought I'm going to use that as a way to create an outline for this song about my emotions towards my ex-wife. And it's called 20 Years Gone, because by the time I wrote this, we'd been apart for 20 years. And so I started with the word who, and I go, who's the love song? Who's the love song to? And that's referring to this dilemma that I just brought up about sometimes you don't even know who you're writing it about when you're involved with someone else. But it all starts to get mixed up, and it's very upsetting. Is it her or is it you? I thought I knew, but now I know I don't know who. So a lot of times I didn't even know who I was writing about. I was just hurting, and all this stuff is coming out at one time. Then the next W was when. And when his love lied still. His love lied to him too. Through and through, he lived the lie until the lie consumed him. Then the love did too.
Mm.
I'm not sure what that means, but there's a lot of pain in there. Why did he shine her on and pass her off with broken dreams and promises? Why is he lost and found, fooling around amongst the many hardened hearts and shattered shards and pummeled pots, the cracked cups that he bought her? There's not a word he said that's holding water. Now we come to how's the light, the lighthouse now, the one he crashed into. He broke his vows from stem to stern. The stern waves broke the bow, and now he's sinking too. And what's my heartache? What's my heart aching for? Could it be that it was designed for someone else to live inside, with me, of course? A covenant, a kiss for luck, the will to walk upon the water. He didn't drink the water well. Oh, well, the well ran dry, and now he drinks in hell. His shallow shell is leaking. His tired craft is creaking. And where's the wound, the wounded soul? Where did the poor soul go? He's hiding out. The crowd they called, come out and play. He won't come out no more. It's a rough one.
It's emotional.
Really,
Mike, you're an emotional writer. You're an emotional performer,
Yeah.
That's why people feel it. You're feeling it and they're feeling it when they're hearing it.
Yeah, it's a really upsetting tune. I've never performed it live. And it
Really?
doesn't get a lot of discussion or attention, or again, we're talking about something that for me personally meant a lot, and I felt it was crafted in a certain way that a songwriter might find interesting because of how the words roll. But perhaps this song did resonate with some people, but it's not one that I get a lot of comments on. That's part of why I brought it up, because very few know about using that thing about the newspaper reporter, the 5 W's. It's kind of a hidden thing in there. But
Yeah,
I love that.
I like it.
yeah, that one again
like the
was
structure.
satisfying to me because it really went into some areas that are really revealing and painful, and
Mhm.
maybe it's just too painful, but
Yeah.
sometimes you have to go there in order to really face yourself,
Only
Yeah.
way out is through.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You should do that one on the Deep Cuts tour with us.
Well, you know what? That's a good idea.
Yeah.
That might be one
If we're,
that
if we think we're going out in the fall. I don't know.
well, yeah, I hope so.
God, I hope so.
I mean, it's the weirdest doggone thing
Yeah,
to to measure your time in moments, and that's about it. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know where this thing is going. I mean, we all grew up hearing sermons about apocalyptic situations and the tribulation and different kinds of things like this, but to actually live through something that's like what we always imagined as kids it still is beyond challenging, because we don't really have the tools for that.
Mhm.
And it's funny watching the whole world do it at one time. It isn't just America, or it isn't just your state or this part of the country. It's like
more commonality. There's so much
Pardon?
commonality right now.
Yeah,
Commonality.
we're connected.
more
I
than
think we're
ever.
more aware. Yeah.
yeah, and in some ways I think it's a great opportunity for I don't know, oneness, or some way of everyone understanding that we all are in the same place.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
would hope that comes out of it and that we survive it,
Yeah.
because there's probably going to be other things like this in the future, maybe worse. It's like this is kind of a trial run for the kind of things we could face, because we didn't know that. I mean, they've been talking about this stuff for a long time, but I don't think we've ever seen it quite like this. So
Well, yeah, and I think, we've all heard about it for a long time. I've been reading books and stories and articles about the flu virus, that one day the flu virus could mutate into something we couldn't fight, and we would have to, this global pandemic. And you read about it, but you just kind of think, yeah, it's probably never going to happen. And then it's happening. And now that it is happening, it's kind of crazy. I was saying the other day, it's what we're going through right now is odd, because it sort of feels like slacker fan fiction. It's like the world is ending, and the only way we can save the world is for me to stay home in my PJs and watch YouTube and eat. I'm doing my part.
yeah, it's what we've all wanted, right? To not have to do anything, and we can't even do that. We don't know. Americans especially don't know how to do that, because we are so work oriented. Whereas, maybe in Hawaii, it's just fine, because there it's about the stories, And I think part of what we're doing here tonight is being very Hawaiian. We're telling stories.
Mhm.
That's what pulls that culture together, is the stories that go over generations, and you hand them down, and you go over them to remind everyone who you are, and that's kind of, doing this sort of reminds us who we are, I think.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. And I hope that we all do get back to something like normal again by the fall. My hope would be that people have been cooped up for so long that when they see that the choir and the 77s are doing a live show in their town, they'll just be standing room only, man. It'll be like, yes, a concert.
I'm not going to hold my breath, but that would be nice.
Wouldn't it?
It most definitely would be nice.
Yeah, be really great. Well, we only got like 5 minutes left. I don't know if you guys want to go around one more time to try to do it, one more song each real quick.
Are we getting cut off? Is there a cutoff?
No, I don't. I'm not going to cut you off.
Well, let's just go through them and get them done.
Go.
Let's do another round. Let's do another round.
Quick.
Is it me?
Yep, you're up.
It's you, Chris.
All right. This is a song I wrote after I remember watching a documentary, and I can't remember what the documentary was, but it got me thinking about how certain people are just suppressed, and there's nothing that's ever going to change that. And anyway, so it's a song called Ravages of Time. And it goes something like this. Let's see if I can read my own handwriting on here. Prison is designed to break us down like specimens in the zoo. dangerous to each other till we're cuckoo cock-a-doodle-doo. The poorest of us lick the jailer's dust off the heel of his iron shoe. The rich man picks his teeth each night with the splinters of our pain. He throws them down a deep dark hole that he's filled with cheap champagne. He leaves the wake of lost and forsaken in the gutter of his campaign. And here's my tip of the hat to the 77s. Ping pong and oblivion, somehow we will survive. Can you tell me how to overcome the ravages of time? The law grinds down the poor ghost town and the rich men rule the law. Three-piece suits with tongues like ties, trapped in the devil's claw. Satan is so much wiser now than he ever was before. There's splatter on the radio and there's a howl in my head. I need the joy of a melody to get me up and out of bed. Somewhere beyond these prison bars, the moon is turning cherry red. There's the moon again. I'm just now discovering this. Ping pong and oblivion, somehow we will survive. Can you tell me how to overcome the ravages of time?
It's excellent. Is that on the new record too?
Yeah.
It's a good record.
I gotta go buy it right now. Is it out now?
Yeah, you can stream it just to make sure
I found it
it's
on
your thing.
Bandcamp's where I found it.
Nice.
Bandcamp.
I gave you $10.
Thank you, Steve. Seriously, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Great stuff.
really good. We're gonna move fast. So I wrote one, this is one I wrote today, or I finished it today. And right after I listened to Chris's record, I thought, well, I want to read something new tonight at this poetry thing, so lyric thing. So I wrote something kind of like, I thought it felt sort of like John Prine a little bit. I was kind of in that mode because I've been listening to him a lot. All night last night, I just had him playing on Spotify. And so I was kind of in that mode. So I finished this today, which is not necessarily finished because there's no music for it. And so when I find the musical home, probably something Derry comes up with, I'll readapt it probably to suit the tune, but here it is for right now. It's called Everything or Nothing. Every creek is a trail worth exploring. Every tear flows downstream from a story. Every drop of blood is mortality reborn. Betrayal unforgiven cuts deeper than a thorn. I want to wander in the woods with a friend. I want to wander in the woods with a friend. I want to wander in the woods with a friend and talk about everything or nothing. A bowl with gold-filled cracks is a treasure. One man's pain is another man's pleasure. Every drop of rain might be a blessing or a curse. Love endures the weather, for better or for worse. I want to wander in the woods with a friend. I want to wander in the woods with a friend. I want to wander in the woods with a friend and talk about everything or nothing. With a friend who braves adventurous conversation. A true friend that I can trust without reservation. Someone who won't say anything when nothing needs saying. And I hope I never hurt your feelings when I'm only playing. I want to wander in the woods with a friend. I want to wander in the woods with a friend. I want to wander in the woods with a friend and talk about everything or nothing.
Good, man. There's some great lines in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to put music to it, Mike?
Golly, yeah.
It's high time for you to write some new tunes.
Yeah, we need to, hey, and we did collaborate on more than that one, then Turn It Around. We wrote that song for the Kerosene Halo album a long, long time ago.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And I love that tune.
We've co-written a couple of songs.
Yeah. We're good at it. We need to keep doing it.
Oh, yeah.
After making such like a big, heavy record like I just did, Steve, you reading your lyrics instantly makes me want to go like, I just want to write songs filled with joy and wonder. I don't want to, like, I've already sung about enough heavy stuff. Like, I just want to go into that. And that's just from hearing you read your lyrics. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
It's
I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm ready for it.
A season for this and a season for that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, I guess this is by request. I wasn't going to say, I love Ache Beautiful. I think it's one of the best things I've ever done, but it wouldn't be one that I would have presented here today. But you guys brought it up.
It's
And
one
it's
of
an
my
interesting
favorites.
story because, you know, it's about my teenage girlfriend and the whole thing went down the toilet and, you know, it ended up being a terrible
Wait a
thing.
minute, you're not supposed to say that out loud.
I know. Well, she was legal.
Oh.
It wasn't that. It wasn't. I mean, by the time the song got written, that she was long past her teens. It's just more of that's how I thought of her, you know. But the deal is that this song is unusual because it started on a flight from Heathrow in London to San Francisco 2 years prior to it being written. And I was listening a lot to that Lindsey Buckingham album, Out of the Cradle. You might remember that. It's a great album. There's a song on there called Shine It On. And I wasn't aware that I'd lifted this melodic motif from that tune for this, but I have this phrase called Ache Beautiful, but I didn't know what it meant. And I knew that on that flight, I was going to have to live out something that in order to finish the song, I would have to live something out. And 2 years later, I found myself once again on a flight from Heathrow to San Francisco with the phrase, and now I'd lived it out, and I wrote the song on the flight. And by this point, this girl had moved away to art school in Norwich, where they make the hot mustard, you know, and I was writing to her saying, "You're so far away, I won't see you any day soon. We came a long way, and now you want to fly to the moon, all alone, going your own way." Another Fleetwood Mac reference.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
I thought I owned your love, and now you say, "Ache, ache, ache, beautiful for me. Go along and ache, ache, beauty, babe. Thought love was here to stay for years, but now it's down to days." And it's one long, long day to Heathrow from the Humboldt Bay. And Humboldt is where we'd had most of our relationship. And I was nervous about using specific places like that. But, you know, this was a personal song and there was no way out of it. You know, I wanted something that was universal. And this is something, Steve and Chris, that as songwriters, you guys might come up against that sometime where you're going, in order to have this song mean something to everyone at all times, do I stay away from certain phrases, certain places, certain things so that everyone can relate? Because not everyone's going to know where Humboldt Bay is. They might know where Heathrow is. And I just thought, it doesn't matter. I've got to say that. It rhymed, you know, and I sort of tossed it in there and said, it doesn't matter. No one's going to.
No,
you know,
I like
the
specifics. I like this.
Right. It's not going to be on a million selling record anyway. So who cares, you know? But still, as a songwriter, you get hung up on little things like that because you worry, you know, if I put that in there, then that ties it to a real story and at a real time and place, you know? And if it becomes a movie, it's going to have to be about those places. Anyway, love was a song we sang so beautifully, and can it be gone permanently? And you say, ache, ache, beautiful, but all this heart can do is break. So take a piece. You say you're young, too young, you just want to live for today, but true love don't come along every day. And you say, ache, ache, beautiful for me. Above me, you can sail duty free. Again, the airplane motif, you know, the whole thing about the duty free lounge and ache, beautiful, but no heart ever breaks beautifully.
I love that line.
Good line. Good line.
Yeah, you know, the whole, you know, where I sing, I go, all alone. That's the thing I got from the Lindsey Buckingham where he goes, shine it on. It's somewhere in his song like that. I didn't know at the time, because you know how you unconsciously will steal ideas, and we've all done it, and some of the greatest songwriters have gotten sued for that. And, you know, I just think sometimes those things are going to be in your songs no matter what. But
sometimes it's just like going to the library, you know, at that level.
Sure. Well, they say if you steal from one guy, it's plagiarism. If two or more, it's research.
That's right.
Yeah, that song resonated for me a lot because my heart was breaking in a million billion pieces when I wrote that. And I wanted anyone who heard the song to feel that pain, you know. And of course, I mailed it off to her, and she wrote back saying, "Oh, well, that's great. You know, part of your artistic journey. Good job."
Yeah.
It's like, you
Good
know, it
riddance.
didn't mean
Good riddance to
anything.
her.
It didn't mean anything.
Forget about it.
It
I
wasn't
would
meant for
relive-
her. It was meant for the rest of us.
Yeah,
I think.
exactly. And I've often thought I would relive the whole thing, good, bad, and ugly, to be able to get that song. It was worth it. All of it was worth it to get that song.
Right. We do
Because I
get
know
good
that-
songs out of the worst things that happen to us. At least
Yeah, you
we
know.
get some good songs out of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's such a, I love your delivery in that song, Mike. It's so gentle, and there's some sort of, I think the music, what's happening in the background, that all the subtle textures in the background really make that song just extra special to me. I freaking love that song.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, one of my all-time favorites.
Well, Keith, you didn't read anything. Keith's a very good lyricist as well, but you said that you were going to, you're being gracious and humble, but you said you were going to close out the night with a John Prine lyric?
No. You know what? I didn't. I don't have one ready. I'm sorry.
Oh, gee, okay.
I'm sorry. No, I was thinking about it. I did say that. I just thought maybe we would talk about John a little bit, but I do love John Prine. I do. It is very sad we've lost him, but I'm very grateful that we have. Like I was thinking about this today. There are pieces of John Prine that will live forever on the internet, and in his songs. He's still there, right? We still get to share him. So I'm very grateful for that. I will read one thing if that's okay. This is actually a poem that I wrote that turned into a song a few years ago. And this is based on a true story. So when my wife and I were dating in college, there was a guy stalking her. And I went over to try to reason with him, and it didn't work. He was out of his mind, and had to call the cops on him several times. It was a mess. And I was really frustrated. Again, I didn't know what to do about it because I wanted to protect my wife, but at the same time, you know, I felt like killing the guy, but I knew I couldn't get away with that. So I wrote this song. It's to him. His name was Luke Crow. So the song, it was entitled To Luke Crow. It goes, as the serpent is lifted up in the wilderness, so is my anger lifted up against you. If my desire to end your life were a flame, oh, how I would burn. Supernova under a blue sky, with a Bible in my hand and a thorn in my side. I am torn between lusting for the warmth of your blood on my hands and longing to see you covered in the blood of the Lamb. And I hope one day to find you sleeping and to raise my sword above your head, to cut a lock of your hair and leave it beside you as you dream. You are not the king you hope to be, and my songs can never soothe the demon in you or in me.
Wow.
It was a little dark.
Yeah, it's
pretty
pretty
heavy, man.
emotional.
Intense.
Well, I hope that situation resolved.
He probably got arrested. I don't know. He's gone. I mean,
Yeah.
we never heard from him after a while, and I think I'd heard, yeah, something happened to him. I hope he's okay. I really do hope good things for him in the end. He was a kind of broken guy, but
Well, writing that probably helped you work through a lot of that emotion that you had about it.
yeah. Oh, it totally did. I mean, because it's exactly how I felt. I was wrestling with my own emotions of like kind of wanting to pray for the guy because I did talk to him and I recognized how broken and screwed up his life was and that he ended up the way he was. But at the same time, trying to be protective of my wife, it scared me that I probably could have killed him if I had the chance. You know what I mean? I was so upset and angry and protective, and that kind of scared me. So luckily it
Very-
never came.
Mary Gaucher, really great writer. You know who that is?
Yeah.
She says, the song is a good place to hide your secrets.
Hmm.
So,
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes they don't all stay very hidden,
I know.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing that we can end up saying things in those things that we wouldn't even tell, to some of our close friends, and yet we put them out there for everyone to see.
Exactly.
Mhm.
But you
Yeah.
can mix it with enough metaphor that hopefully it throws them off the scent.
That's right.
And they apply
Sometimes I
it to
haven't
their,
even bothered to do that.
and they apply it to their own situation anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember years ago being confronted by certain individuals who would say, "Why did you put that? And why did you write that?" And and I'd go, "Well, it's all gobbledygook, it's all mixed up." But I think sometimes, maybe I went too far,
Yeah.
Other times I thought, well, that saved me from doing something worse, or it was a way to redeem a situation that was so terrible that the song ended up doing more good than the harm that I did that led to the lyric,
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of times I think I want to use it in that way. And in some cases that's been successful. So that's
I've
part of the
definitely-
gift that we get for doing this, is that sometimes we can work out some pretty awful things in our lives
Mhm.
through this. And maybe, we can't undo the bad, but sometimes we can do some good, and keep someone else from making the same mistake.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I've always been grateful, and it's an honor to be in a role like that, because that's not a privilege that everyone gets. And so I do take that part of it seriously. I try to, I always try to respect the fact that if you have a voice, even if it's to a small group of people, to make sure that you are, doing something that's worthy of it, and just try to be excellent and respect the fact that you are actually sometimes a conduit for change in their lives,
Mhm.
without getting too hung up on it, or,
Right.
letting that weigh you down. Just respect it for what it is.
Yeah. I think, Chris, you were the one, right, who said that music is therapy.
Oh yeah. I mean, it took me forever to finally come to terms with that. I always knew, like, I remember sitting this was, I think, years ago in the 90s, it was in the late 90s. I got into I was in Nashville in this A&R guy's office, and it was like the thing you think about. He's like smoking the cigar, going, "All right, kid, tell me what you,"
Yeah.
it was the whole thing. And it was this surreal moment where I was like, I don't belong here. I don't belong in, this is not why I do this. Everything within me was like, I got to this moment thinking this is exactly where I wanted to be, sort of ushered into a, record label. I wanted the gatekeeper, the guy with the keys, to say, okay, I'm going to let you in. And all of a sudden I didn't want to be in. I wanted to be out. And I think ever since then, I just focused on writing my own songs my own way. And I didn't really pay too much attention to what was going on. And I realized, oh yeah, at the age of 50, it took me this long to go, oh yeah, I write songs so I can make sense of myself. I can figure out who I am, I formed a band. I formed Love Coma however many years ago, 92. I formed them just because I realized I wanted a family, because I never really had a tight-knit family around me. And I thought, oh, I'll be in a band because, that we can be focused. We're a group of guys who are focused on, but then even then it was like a revolving door. And I realized, oh, there's no such thing as a real band anymore. It's just a bunch of guys coming in and out. And so it's one of those deals, but anybody in the world can approach songwriting differently. And I think that there is room at the table for anybody. If you want to learn how to write hit songs, there's room for you here. If you want to learn how to use songs as sort of a healing balm for your soul or somebody else's, there's room for you here too, So there's so many ways to approach this thing. And I am lucky enough to have guys like Steve and Mike that have seriously paved the way for me and kind of open up my imagination. And you guys were the first ones, again, my formative years when I was 16, 17 years old, making the trek all the way from here to, where was it, Grace Lake, Illinois, or Bushnell, Illinois, to, we all sweated out on those big festivals. And I was like, those are some of my first concert experiences. And I'm like, oh my goodness, and then I would buy the records, go home, and you guys are like my big brothers, where you don't know this, but you've been whispering in my ear, for years and years and years, telling me all your secrets. So it's like, it's a beautiful thing to be able to even to share this very strange digital moment with you all right now. Excuse me, right now. So I'm just grateful for you guys blazing the trail for the rest of us.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you guys so much. This was a blast. Appreciate you taking the time, sharing your songs and your stories, and this has been a lot of fun.
Cool, man.
All right. Thanks for throwing the party.
All right, man.
Yeah.
We'll do it again. We'll do it again.
All right, sounds good. Take care,
Good
guys.
night, everybody.
For now, this is Doc Love saying so long.
All right. All right. All right, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.